What up, everybody? Let's talk about really some things that we talked about before, and that's entertainment and kind of my approach to it. I want to make it clear that I personally want to see a change in these entertainment industries. Okay. I'm not interested in protecting the status quo. Even if I did benefit from it existing how it does right now, I'm not at all interested in keeping or maintaining the status quo because I do find something fundamentally wrong. And so, what I want to do is propose solutions. But in order to do that, you have to kind of understand what's taking place so you can understand what the next move has to be. So I guess what we have in this recent pocket of time, let's say that, where the authoritarian social justice left has made it clear they're the ones in control. Now you can say that is a long-term kind of infiltration process, which would be true. But you can also look at it from the fact that it amplified in the last, let's say, 5-6 years. And especially after the Summer of Love in 2020 and George Floyd, you had these mega corporations really start to use these brands more openly to push whatever personal politics, social views it is that they had. Now, that's what was unlike what we had seen before. Under the table, yes, lobbying, yes, but not like, okay, we're going to use the brand. That rarely took place. And now it's taking place all of the time, and they're taking a side. It's not even neutral. They don't even present the other alternative to that side as if it's something positive or worth striving for. So with that being said, you have to concede that, whether you want it to or not, that the brands that you know and love are never returning. From what the social justice left controls, they're not going to ever let go of, and you cannot change that. What you can do, however, there still is a solution. This isn't some doomer stuff. I'm the opposite. I'm trying to give you the white pill. But in order to actually see success in dethroning these clowns, we have to understand what's taking place. I think some folks are more interested in protecting the status quo, hoping that these guys will change, and voicing their concerns with the intention that they're going to change. I'm all for voicing the concerns, making fun of these clowns because it delegitimizes them, not because I think they're going to change. I think this is worth talking about for sure. But they can't be changed. That's just the reality. They've gotten way too much power. They're like locusts. And because they focus so much on culture anyway, they understand the importance unlike the other side does. In fact, we talked about this in a previous show. That side really takes advantage of the fact that they're ideological enemies. So whether you consider those people neutral, apolitical, libertarian, conservative, just not aligning themselves with the social justice left, those guys often, and they don't want to care about that stuff as far as what is the politics of the company. They don't want to individually care about that. And in a more prosperous world, we wouldn't have to worry about that. There'd be far more people just not giving a crap about what the positions of the people that control whatever good or service that they're trying to provide. But we're beyond that, and we have to understand the cultural reality here. So what I mean by they use that to their advantage is that they expect, and I think this is why a lot of this stuff accelerated, because they know that you don't act like them. A big, big difference between the authoritarian left and authoritarian social justice left and the other sides that I just mentioned earlier is that they, as I mentioned before, like Gina Carano, they see people among them that are among their ranks that participate in Hollywood, let's say that sort of cultural entity. They get you out. They do everything they can to make sure if you are open and bold and proud about not being one of them, then they seek to eliminate you. Okay. They also do not generally go support the ventures of people that don't align with them ideologically. Now, this isn't about mere disagreements here that we're talking about. This is about more so these people despise you. They don't like your guts. So they're not going to go purchase a Daily Wire, subscription or Blaze Network. That's not what they do. They don't operate like that. They will seek you out and say we need to avoid them and do everything they can to delegitimize you. Hell, it happened with Gina Carano, not only in getting her out, but when she left. And it was announced that the Daily Wire, which they were going to be working together to try to come up with these films. We then found out that, all these Access Media, they were coming together to basically say, ha, 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 it's a demotion, you suck. They don't want to see you be great. But this is the thing. Here's your white pill. Though they can't change, they can be competed with and they can be replaced. Is it easy? No. And that's going to take not just creatives. Creatives are part of that, but customers are more important than anything. In that people have to start rerouting as these alternatives come up, rerouting their focus and problem like money, let's say that, to these entities that really have made it clear that they don't like you. Again, I'm not interested in protecting the status quo. So even if these companies that have been around forever, are no longer around, that doesn't bother me at all. At all. If Disney goes into I'd actually prefer it that way, goes into the tank because the people that they don't like have finally started to say, we're not funding you. Nothing it is that you do. You're the easiest of the mega corporations to defund because you don't provide a good that people actually need. Everything Disney does is strictly entertainment. Let's assume that the other side finally wakes up and says, we're done with Disney. We're done. And they get ran into the ground because they cannot operate by simply depending on the money from the left. They can't do it. The left is broke unless you're talking about the champagne socialists and like the academics. Aside from them, they ain't got no money. They depend on the money. And it goes back to what I said. They know they take advantage of how you act because they know they depend on the money of the people that they hate. But the people that they hate don't have, not yet, enough of the fortitude to stop funding them. Like in droves. It's one thing, fund here. I'm talking about like in droves. It's still people lining their pockets up. That's why they got so cocky. They got cocky because it's like, well, we realize there's not going to be any economic consequence to what it is that we do, so who cares? So you can't change these guys. They understand that's too important. They worked very hard to get control of what they have. They ain't letting it go. They got it. They pimped a lot of these corporate entities into shape. They got it. They're not letting that go. So you should. And made new stuff in every industry, entertainment, in every single one. And I hope that with entertainment, that sets a precedent and gets a kind of domino momentous impact. And it goes into other industries that cross into stuff that people actually need. I love the idea of decentralization. I love that, which is what it would be. Parallel economy, that's what it implies. Decentralizations. Right now, you have mega corporations that are in control of so much. Entertainment, at least, is something that can be replaced because a lot of it you don't require it. I'm not saying that it's useless or trivial, but it's not like food. You know what I mean? You'll live without that stuff, and it's easy to be replaced. So you can imagine if people actually did that and alternatives that were good. That's first and foremost. You got to be good. You can't just be an alternative or think that you wanted to support just because you're an alternative. Be good. Be on your craft. And as customers start to reroute their attention to those, we can make some very, very drastic changes. And those drastic changes may change into other industries, influence people in the other industries. They start investing in other aspects. So people have not only more options, but it's not just that. Updated economic models, right? Instead of the typical corporate kind of lineup, which is what we have now. We don't need that. People have a direct line of sight with their audience, with their customers. You don't need that. You don't need creators to sell off their assets. You don't have to do that anymore. So as more people do that, creatives create, be great, then we don't need them to change. We'll leave them exactly where they're at. But we leave them broke. You can't change them. It sucks. I've had to concede that the Marvel and DC that I love is gone, and I will never fund as long as I have anything to do with it. I'm not directly funding, especially Disney, Marvel. Not directly funded. Thankfully, AT&T let off their entertainment assets, so DC is good with Discovery. I don't need nothing Discovery from Warner. I don't need anything from them. Though, I get it. Definitely, if they have entered in like the internet space and all of that, I don't know if that side of Warner is in the Discovery. I don't think so, actually. I think it's just entertainment. We don't need them. Let them die. But this is a white pill. You can't change them. And it may suck because you're like, man, I grew up on this. This stuff was awesome. Well, that ain't going nowhere. You got your catalog and your back issues for your books. You don't need them. Made a new entities rise from the ashes, but more importantly, understanding what that means. It's a lot of uncertainty that will come from that. A lot of moving parts, a lot of people that are in positions of power that ain't gonna go down with a fight, but they gonna have to. But either way, it's gonna be a lot of changes and uncertainty for a lot of people. Difference, I guess, between myself and others is that I welcome that. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, ericdjuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.